what I'd like for you to do is on page 3, just spend some time with your neighbor going through these questions. How do we get people in the picture? People who are missing from the picture. So who might those people be that are missing from our picture in terms of who we serve in the community and what we look like as an employment body, both North Mankato as well as St. Peter? Do we even want everybody in the picture? Right? Because that is going to require some effort and work, right? And then for those people who are not in the picture, and we can't speak for them, but let's try to think for them. If it was us that kept missing from this picture, this American picture, what might be their thoughts? What might be their feelings? How might they act with the recognition that every time they go look at the picture, they're not there, we're not well represented? And then what might be their absence in our systems, in our so-called family picture? What might that suggest about us? So not only what does it suggest about them, but what might it suggest about us? Right. So I'll give you about 3 minutes to kind of go through those questions with your neighbor, and then we'll come back and have more conversation. All right. 3 minutes starting now. Thank you so much. So what were some of the things that you guys talked about in terms of how do we get people into the picture? So we connect. Okay? What does that mean? Okay. All right, so try to find common ground, things that you like and they like. Okay. What else? Yes.
One of the ones we struggle with is language. Language is a big one. There's a lot of jobs that happen in my community that people that hopefully specifically do. It's all about you have to be able to talk to one another, or talk to a customer, or talk to an engineer, or talk to a construction person. If you don't kind of have that language, that's a massive barrier.
Yeah, so language can be a huge barrier. So how would we get over a barrier like that?
ESL classes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, support ESL classes, right? So I was talking with a gentleman here during the break, and we were talking about the collaboration between the college here and one of the local factories. Right? So what the factory is doing is by building a relationship here with not the Polettes, who's the other people? The Taylors, right? So the Taylor Corp, right, has a direct access to graphic design students right here. So what they've done is they've kind of cut out the middleman a little bit and said, we can get our students right here. So there's this direct pipeline. So even thinking about how do we build things differently in terms of do we have an ESL class that we sponsor specifically for a particular vocation or a particular track of vocation? So rethinking those things. Because if we do what we've always done, we get what we've always gotten. And to be quite honest, the leadership happens in two ways. Leaders can be proactive, they can see what needs to be done and do it, or they can actually just wait and respond to what happens. But in our Western society, if we wait to respond, we will continue to wait to respond and may not necessarily get ahead of things and say and get to say what happens as opposed to constantly responding to what is happening. What are some other ways that we get folks into the picture, so to speak? Extending the invitation. That's always interesting. We invite people to where we are. On the surface, it sounds really cool. It sounds great. It sounds groovy. Except what? You're always asking me to come play with your ball. You never want to come to my house and play with my ball. So not only inviting them, but also being willing to do what? Go to where they are. Right? Did you ever have a friend that would never come to your house but always want you to go to their house? That was never cool. After a while, you're like, peace, dude. Even if your stuff is better, at least come experience my crappy stuff so you understand why I think it's crappy. So yeah, no. So there's a give and take going back and forth. Right? Going back and forth. One of the things I think is going to continually be crippling until we're able to kind of close some of these divides is that job applications are to be done online. Right? So if I have new communities or diverse communities, particularly if they've come from out of the country, they may not necessarily understand all that stuff or know what the right keywords are to put into their stuff, so they will never show up. And to be quite honest, most of our jobs, we did not get, well, I won't talk about you, I'll talk about me. Most of the jobs that I've had were because I knew somebody, or somebody who knew somebody knew somebody. Right? But if you don't know anybody, you just throw your stuff in here. And it's so funny because now, So in my resume and stuff, and when I send it out, there are either keywords or key institutions that people go, ooh, right? It like changes the nature of the company. But if I didn't have those connections, or people didn't know, I went to St. Thomas on purpose. I went there for a reason. Because I know in the metro area, you say you went to St. Thomas and people go, okay, St. Thomas, right? Yeah, no, I did that on purpose. And my Harvard friends, I hate them. My Stanford friends, I hate them because they think, Stanford, oh, you went to St. Thomas, they went to Stanford. Hey, Stanford, how are you? Right? So we recognize those things. And the real question, you don't need to answer this question, do we want everybody in the picture? And for those folks who say yes, great. For those people who say no, I want you to be mindful that there's more than enough to go around. You know, we've addressed this in another session, right? So my wife was going to cook some buttermilk biscuits. We didn't have any buttermilk. So she was like, okay, I'm going to make these buttermilk biscuits. What do I do? And how many people know what she did? She took lemon juice and milk and whipped it together and had a substitute. There is always more than enough, and we always find a way. Fossil fuels have to die for the future to come. It has to die for the future to come. It is so funny. You know who's going to save Puerto Rico? Elon Musk. Tesla is going to save Puerto Rico. Why? The future. And I mark my words, Puerto Rico in the next 15 years will be the Western Hemisphere's Dubai. They will be the Western Hemisphere's Dubai. You know who Elon Musk is? Tesla cars, the electric cars. So he's installing all of these solar electric generators on the island of Puerto Rico. Well, he will be doing it. That's his plan, to help them with their infrastructure. Yeah, so there's that. There's more than enough to go around. It just looks different. Right? You can turn to page 4. Just want to briefly talk about this, and you can do this on your own. I'm going to make sure that I get you out here on time. So, we know that there are 3 parts to our brain, right? So there's our primary or reptilian brain, which is the oldest part of the brain. It's looking for danger. It is the trigger for fighting and flight and all that kind of stuff, right? So all those kind of primal things. It's the thing that makes your eyes blink when you're not thinking about blinking, right? So something comes real fast and your eye goes like that. That's that little part of your brain. And then around that is the mammalian brain, which is a little more sophisticated. It is thought that that's where emotions kind of live. So our mammalian brain tells us how we feel about what the primary brain is, or the reptilian brain is noticing. And then there's the big gray matter, the part that we typically think about as the brain, right? All the wrinkly stuff. That is our prefrontal cortex, particularly in the front. And the 2 lobes kind of act as one. And this is where executive functions happen. So your reptilian brain says, I have to use the bathroom. Your executive function, your prefrontal cortex says, I'm going to go up these stairs and go into that room. If it was up to your primary brain, it would happen wherever you are, right? It would just, right? The horses, animals, right? So that's the stuff. We try to train our animals, but they still, when they gotta go, right? So we recognize that. What we also recognize is that fear hijacks our prefrontal cortex. So the smallest part of our brain will hijack the front part of our brain, and then we are not in our right mind. We're not in our right mind. And so sometimes those neural networks can be so formulated that people will say, and this is my favorite, I'm old, I can't change. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, they can. Yes, I can. So So I'm a member of Lifetime, and they have this these new stair stepper things. It's the future. It's the future, right? So they have this little digital screen display and all this kind of stuff. And I'm used to the ones where the stair stepper where you just kind of do this kind of thing. But this one does this elliptical thing. So you're like doing all of this. And so, I'm on there, and it feels so goofy. I feel so dumb. And then I saw this guy come, right? And he's all like matching head to toe, that stuff. He hops up on that thing, and he's like, and he's making it look cool. And I'm like, guess what? If I keep practicing, I'll look as cool as him. But I don't now. But I can make it a part. I have to continually do these things. Before things become habits, they must be routines. And so I must routinely check my little brain and say, are you really doing what you're supposed to be doing, or could you do it differently or better? And that's what it really means to be human. So feel free to answer those questions on yourself. And then ultimately, we have to act with purpose. So we have to learn how to interact. We have to ask strategic questions. We have to educate ourselves. And we have to echo people. We have to support people who are also standing up, even if they're not getting it totally right. Because that becomes extremely important to support those folks. I was going to do some things around, but I was talking too much, around doing some role plays around on page 6, and just some scenarios to think about how to interrupt, question, or educate yourself in situations that you may find yourself in, or you may see out there. And so I'll let that be that's your bathroom task. You do that way. I do stuff while I'm in the bathroom. It's just what I do. But what I'd like you to do is spend some time on it's on page 7. And page 7 is basically kind of a Mad Lib. I don't know if anybody did those as kids. I love Mad Libs, right? So, it's a story. You just interject your stuff. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to write a letter to yourself, given kind of what we've talked about over the last 4 sessions. This is our capstone session. And I will also be passing around some envelopes. And what I'd like you to do is to complete this Mad Lib, address the envelope to yourself, put this in the envelope, and in 3 months we will mail these back to you. Feel free to seal these. They won't be read by anyone else but you. So address those, and we'll send those back to you in about 3 months. So right around Christmas time, you'll get this strange letter from yourself. What is this? Because I always forget when I do these kinds of activities. So I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to do this. It shouldn't take much longer than that. But I want you to be thoughtful. And again, you're speaking to yourself.